Hey everybody, Dave here in Freedom Investing. In this first part of this two-part series, we're going to talk about early retirement planning. And I'm 2 years into early retirement planning, and I made significant progress, but there's still quite a bit of work left to do. So in this first video of this series, we're going to just talk about where my accounts stand today and kind of the income I get from that, and where my net worth stands and all that, and kind of where the net worth needs to go. And then the second part, which I'll release next Saturday, is where I want the accounts to be post-FIRE and the ultimate goal with that. Let's go ahead and dig in. So what we're looking at here is something I set up about 6 years ago after reading a Mr. Money Mustache article. If you're not familiar with Mr. Money Mustache, he's, kind of, I wouldn't say he's the first, but he's definitely a person that made FIRE kind of a popular term. And, I mean, he's really helped a lot of people, but he helped me too, because I was sitting in a hotel room for literally 6 months out of the year up in BFE, Egypt, right? So essentially, when I was sitting in that hotel room, I was thinking about, okay, I want to hike the AT. Well, that requires me to take about 4 or 5 months off of work, which theoretically means that I probably need to quit work. So I was kind of looking at a way to do that, and that's when I found Mr. Money Mustache, and that's when I came across the 4% rule, which is based off the Trinity study. You take your annual expenses that you have to live, and you times it by 25, and that comes out with how much money you need to retire. So I got at the top here the $30,000, the 35, 40, 45, 48, 55, and those are just numbers that I came up with that I thought would be pretty good to retire on. And 25 is the general rule for the Trinity study. You withdraw 4% and it should last you, at least 25 years. Theoretically, you probably make it last a lifetime, but that rule, in my opinion, is a little old. It's a little outdated. Back when that was instituted, it was kind of I want to say that there, the interest rates were super high back then, like I don't think 8% or something like that. So it was a lot more viable, in my opinion. So I came up with, being I'm probably going to be about 46, 47 when I retire. I came up with I'm going to go ahead and do the 3.5% withdrawal rate, which gives me 29 years. And then I kind of just bolded those numbers there across the board. Originally I came up with 1.25 was going to be the number, and then I upped it to 1.35, and then later changed it to 1.5, and that's just the thing that you end up running into when you get close to your number, or even surpass your number. You start thinking, okay, what's another year? What's another year? And I hope I don't play that game going forward. But so right now, the things that are highlighted in yellow here are things that, well, I guess I haven't really achieved that one or that one. So what it was originally was the number that I already achieved, so I just put in there, okay, it gives me the 3% and 33% and the 35, but I have not achieved a 1.485 yet, so I should probably take that out. But I do plan on, we'll look in the numbers here in a minute, but I do plan on, going to 1.5 to possibly into 1.65. So that's the reason why I probably set these to yellow originally. So I probably even set that one to yellow. If you're enjoying my content, please like and subscribe and hit that bell notification. All right, we are looking at a snapshot of my current state as of June 18th. All right, I have all my accounts there, and I have the value in each one of those accounts, and then the percent of net worth and the income by account, and then yield by account. So as it sits today, June 18th, there's 1.36 million in all these accounts. So that is over my original number that I wanted to FIRE on. And like I said, a lot of this depends on the customer. I've said it in other videos. A lot of it depends on the customer and when they want me to do this last project. So, not to mention, we are also in a pandemic and right on the, I'd say the upslope of the recession. So it kind of makes sense to just hold out for another year or two, and that's what we're planning on doing. So right now, there's 401k accounts with 228k in there. The CRA is company retirement account. That's what that stands for. That's, you know, part of the solo 401k trust. That's in the dividend Schwab account, which you've seen me do a lot of videos on my dividend portfolio here. So we're going to be building that out here, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Let me see, solo 401k trust notes. I do have 2 notes in the 401k trust, and those notes, you know, generate about 7.6% yield, which is pretty good income, and I'm probably going to end up keeping those in there. But we'll look at the post, you know, account where we want things to be in the next few years. This is just a snapshot of what things look like right now. So HSA, I am building that out. I wish I had an HSA for the last 20 years, but unfortunately I didn't, and so I'm building that out to $3,500 a year, and you know, I'm investing that money as well. I do plan on contributing to that account once I retire as well. So there is, you can contribute interest income, you contribute dividend income and all that stuff, as long as you have a high deductible plan once you retire. So I'm hoping I can still build that out and offset some dividends or interest income with that as well. So that's kind of good. If you don't have an HSA and you are offered an HSA from your work, that is one of the best things. It's like triple dipping, all right? So I would highly suggest that you max that out every year if you can. I do have a little bit of silver there, about $10,000 in silver. And you know, the first chance I get to sell that silver, about $40 an ounce, I am getting out of it. But we'll look at that here in a minute. So right now, that is what I have in silver. I do have a Robinhood account. I've pretty much drained a lot of that money out of there and moved it to the TD Ameritrade account, mainly just because Robinhood is just not mature, and they really don't report, you know, P&L, which just kind of drove me nuts. So I pretty much drained the account, left $2,000 in there just in case I want to trade some more crypto. And my M1 Finance I pretty much drained as well. That's actually going to get drained even more, and that's going to go into the dividend portfolio most likely. TD Ameritrade account, I haven't really done any videos on that, but that is where all my spec plays are. I have traded Carnival in there. I've traded Royal Caribbean, Bank of America, not Bank of America, BA. I always say Bank of America for BA. Boeing, and I've traded, let's see, what else have I traded in there? Delta and Southwest as well. So right now I think those are good spec plays, and I'm going to go ahead and continue to trade those stocks in my spec account. I've already made about $1,500 in that account just in the last couple of months. So my Interactive Brokers account, I haven't really showed me doing any trades in there. I have done some covered calls and some cash secured puts, and that's pretty much all I do in that account. And you know, ideally I just want to generate that 4%, that $1,200 a year, and I'm already way past that this year, up at like I think $4 grand if I'm not mistaken. So real estate notes, I have done a video on my passive income off those notes, and it generates quite a bit of income, $38,000, and I essentially will be draining those out for the dividend portfolio. And I've talked about that in previous videos. The main reason for doing that is just because I want to reduce my interest income, because that is taxed at the ordinary rate. So we will be throwing the principal in from, you know, every month the principal gets paid back. So every month I would put in portion of that principal in the dividend portfolio and building that dividend portfolio out. So I've done quite a few videos on Fundrise. Right now the account sits at 16,200 or so, 16,200, and you know, generates, I'd say, about 8% per year is what I've been getting out of it. So I don't have any plans of getting rid of that account, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So Lending Club, I haven't done any videos on that in, shoot, I don't know, 10 months or so. I probably should do a closure video on that. I am draining that account out. All that cash that's in that account will be going into the Fundrise account. You know, as I said before, we will talk about that in a minute. So, and lastly here, we do have cash in the high yield savings account, HIYAS. That's what it stands for, HIYAS. So HIYAS, okay. I'm getting out of control now. Just recently, that account was literally 2%, dropped down to 1.8 and then 1.5, and just last 3 weeks it dropped all the way to 1.0%, which is actually pretty good considering a lot of accounts right now are probably at like 0.3 or 0.03 or something. So there's $70,000 in there right now, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So net worth as it stands right now, 1.36, and annual income by all these accounts, which I call like investment accounts and savings. Did I include savings in there? No, there's no savings in there. So that's just annual income from my actual you know, from the dividends, from the notes, and from the notes up here, the 401k. I've been real conservative on that 401k accounts up there, and I was real conservative on a lot of these other accounts too, like the options I put at 4%, and you know, flips. I didn't know, I skipped the flips. I do have $173,000 in flips that have turned sideways. That's why that house is flipped upside down right there, because it's, you know, real estate flips, and you know, I need to foreclose on those two houses, and we're stuck because the local government shut down all evictions and all foreclosures. Even though there's nobody living in the house or anything like that, it just doesn't matter. They said foreclosures across the board are frozen, and it's been like that for the last couple months. I don't know when they're going to unfreeze that, but right now I got that money just tied up in there, and it's just a waste at this point. So my right hand side here, we do have a current breakdown, and let's just make that a little bit smaller here. I do have a breakdown of the current net worth allocation, you know, by pie chart. So my biggest income producer is that real estate notes at 38.4%. And you know, the real estate flips is a pretty big portion, and then the 401k accounts as well. So, and that's just looking at the pie charts there. So let's scroll down a little bit here. Account type, I did break these out up here, so if you've noticed, let's make that a little bit bigger. You notice that I have a light blue here, that's just for retirement accounts, and this dark blue is for taxable accounts, okay? So I broke those out here. Taxable side of about $1.03 million, and then the tax deferred side $401,000 at this time, and then the income is broken out as well. And the reason I have to do that is just because I want to know what my income is on the taxable side. I don't have any intentions of touching the tax deferred side when I early retire, and I need to know that the taxable side is going to support my needs for early retirement. It also lets me know that, you know, what type of income I'm going to have, and I need to break that out into dividends and what is ordinary income or interest income as well, just so I can kind of figure out what my taxes are going to be. So and that's the yield just in general, what's, you know, coming off of this particular income, or what this net worth is. So the SR is savings slash return, and that's just a projection. It's a pretty conservative projection on what my actual net worth will increase on a year-over-year period and on a monthly period. So I do save quite a bit of income that I make on my 9-to-5. Not to mention all of this return up here is calculated there as well. So that's a rough estimate, about $137,000. My net worth should go up in a conservative basis per year. So, and then here we are looking at the net worth currently, and then my goal is 1.65, and we're 87% to my goal, with a remaining amount of $213,000, and that just seems like it just never goes down. So let's go ahead and look at the conservative net worth projection here, and that's based off this number up here and this monthly number here. Okay, so right now I'm 45, it's 2021, and it's, you know, starting amount was 1.36 million, and you know, I got my lean F.I.R.E there, which would put me in 11 months, would put me at a 1.56, which ideally would probably, you know, get me where I want to be. But I'm gonna probably end up pushing it to 2022, which is 22 months out at 1.688, and that, like I said, that's my F.I.R.E. I'm okay with the lean F.I.R.E, and you know, ideally, just because we're on the upslope of the recession at this point, and I don't know when those projects are going to be done at the customer, which I kind of promised I'd stick around for. So I kind of pushed it out to 22 months. But every time a month ticks off, as soon as July 1st kicks off, I love to just go in here and set that to 10 months. And I love to set this to 20 months, or 21 months, excuse me, and watch the numbers kind of just auto adjust down and all that, because that just lets me know I'm getting closer and closer and closer. So let's go ahead and reset those back to 11 and 22. And the reason why I have those set out to, and not just adjusted off that 11 months there, is because the 11 months is my first retirement date, and I already passed my first retirement date. Technically it was for 2020, so that would, the second retirement was in 2021, but since that one's already passed, we have moved it to the first retirement date, which is 11 months out. So that's the reason why I have those two numbers in there to be auto adjusted, or manually adjusted I should say, just because I might, who knows, I might hang it up at 11 months. So we'll see where I'm at. So and if I stuck it out to 55 years old, which I don't see doing. Some people when they're young can say, oh yeah, I want to be, I want to be a billionaire, and it's like the older you get, you start realizing that money doesn't matter. It's all about your time. You can't get that time back. You're buying time, you're trading time for money. If you haven't seen my video on the Neil Pasricha video that I did, watch that video. It pretty much sums it up, okay? You're trading time for money. The older you get, the less you care about money. You just need enough money to survive, to support your needs of living, food, basic shelter, all that. Beyond that, it really doesn't matter. As long as you can, have one trip a year or something like that. That's all that matters. Stuff doesn't matter at all. So, hanging out to 55 years old, on a conservative basis, I'd be at 2.786 million, which likely would probably be, 3 by that point. So I'm not going to make it to 55. I feel like I'm going to die today. So that's just how I feel. I'm just strapped with time, working, a zillion hours. It's time to enjoy my life and, all the sacrifices that I've made for the last 10 years. So if you're enjoying my content, please like and subscribe and hit that bell notification. Let's take a look at the right hand side here. Might be your left, but this is the current, current account income breakdown here, and that's just the income broken down. So like I said, my biggest income is from real estate notes at 59%, and the second would be on the solo 401k trust notes. So that's a lot of notes that I have in there. And I guess the third one would be the 401k account. So it's just this, it's in pretty much just the indexes and emerging markets and all that. So all right, let's go ahead and scroll back over here and scroll down. So I do just put a little gauge there, and the net worth kind of just gives me a little barometer, whatever you want to call it, speedometer for the net worth there. I'm not in the green. The green is set at 1.5 million, and I'm close, but I'm not quite there. I should hit it by the end of this year, but it's just a, it's just a visual indicator. Doesn't mean nothing, just for the viewing purposes. So let's go ahead and look at this conservative net worth projection, and this goes all the way out to 2030, and that's 55. I don't know why those numbers are so small there, but that is 55 years old. If I made it to 2030 and don't die before then, I would have roughly about 2.7 million in net worth, probably on a conservative basis. I was real conservative just because 4% I can get better return than that most likely, but right now we are at 1.3 or 1.43, which is on 2020. It's not even on this chart here. But 2022 is what we're looking at. It'll be 47, probably just turned 47, and 1.68 is above my my threshold, so we're good to go. So that's it for this video. Part 2 will come out next Saturday, and stay tuned for that one. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns on this particular video, go ahead and leave a comment below. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And until the next video comes out, go ahead and like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.